And I'm back. The John Alite Show. I hope you enjoyed last week's show. Hit the subscribe button. Write in, comment. Tell me what you want to hear, what you want to see, what you want me to talk about. And today I'm going to get into an interesting subject. I'm going to get into Joe Biden and him pardoning his pardons of certain people, commuting sentences of others, and the controversy behind his administration. So, again, some of this is my opinions. Some of this is factual. And let me talk about, well, one primary would be his son, Hunter Biden. He already denied at the beginning, about a year and a half ago, that he would ever pardon his son, which anybody that believed that is got to be crazy. We knew he'd pardon him if he had to. Because of the election, he thought he was going to be running. He made those statements so he would get the American people behind him and he wouldn't lose votes. So those statements were made, again, in my opinion, to coerce or trick or make people believe that he's this great guy, nice guy, and he lives by a set of rules and morals that we know he doesn't. He's a father, and like most fathers, I don't know anybody who wouldn't have commuted their son. But the idea that he lied is why you have the outcry of the American people and the public about him saying he wouldn't commute him or he wouldn't pardon him. But I don't think it fooled anybody. I don't think anybody ever bought that. I mean, if you do, you're really naive to believe that he was not going to pardon his son. So he's the first case out of 4, but they get better, actually. Hunter Biden and his laptop and whatever was on in the accusations of whatever he did is one thing. And then you had the past history of his daughter's diary that they got their hands on. So that's still out there. And for people that want to look into that or Google that, I don't know how much of that is definitely her handwriting. I'm not an expert. I didn't see the diary. I heard of some of the complaints by his daughter. Again, I didn't see it, so I'm not going to comment about that. I will comment on him pardoning his son, which didn't surprise me. And again, I don't think too many fathers wouldn't have pardoned him, but that doesn't mean it's okay because he lied. Over the 4-year period, they've lied to us a lot, again, in my opinion, about a lot of things. But let me tell you some of them. Here's one of the things the Daily Mail just wrote. Biden gives Pfizer and Moderna shield from being sued for COVID vaccine injuries and deaths until 2029. So why is he shielding them to 2029? They claim that the vaccines were safe. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I'm going by reports and what people are writing, and again, my opinion. And they also gave 11,000 federal workers the rights not to take that vaccine. Now, why would that be? If they forced everybody else, they said that you can spread it, just like they did with the illegal immigration. They didn't force them to take the vaccines either. Just like regular vaccines, they didn't check to let all these kids go into schools with our children without taking the vaccines. So there's always a double standard here, is what I'm getting at. What's with the double standard? Why? Why are you saying one thing and then doing another for yourselves? Why does my son go to jail for possession of a handgun, but your son, Hunter, doesn't? So there is a two-tier system here of justice. But let's go to the next. Outraged by Biden pardon. What's this about? And this one is actually really incredible. This is Michael Conahan was convicted of accepting $2.8 million for jailing more than 2,300 children, some as young as 8 years old. $2.8 billion. This was, I believe, 2011. Yes. This is in 2011. Victims of a former Pennsylvania judge convicted in the so-called Kids for Cash scandal are outraged by the decision to grant him clemency. So Biden has just given this guy, an ex-judge that sold kids for cash, put him in prisons, juvenile prisons, as young as 8 years old for petty things as jaywalking, believe it or not. Michael Cohen was sentenced to more than 17 years in prisons after he and another judge, Mark Ciavarella, were found guilty of accepting 2.8 in illegal payments in exchange for sending more than 2,300 kids to jail, including some as young as 8 years old, like I said, to private juvenile detention centers where they make money off of people going to private jails or detention centers for children, youth, juvenile places. Conahan was released from prison in 2020 due to the COVID-19 and placed on house arrest until the end of 2026. Okay. So he not only moved him from jail, clemency, he moved him home. And there is no more COVID where it's in danger for him to be in prison. But Maya Yang wrote this story, by the way. So that's him. So you have Hunter Biden's pardon. You have this guy, a judge, his pardon. You have this guy, commutes the sentence of judge behind the risk of cash of sentenced to 28 years in prison for kickback scheme, where he had millions of dollars sending children to profit prisons, The Kids for Cash scandal is considered among the biggest courtroom fraud in United States history. 28 years, he just pardoned this guy. A guy that there was children that hung themselves. Actually, so people know they killed themselves because of this guy and the other judge. They went to prisons. Some were sexually assaulted, some were beat up, and some killed themselves. How does he pardon these guys? And anybody that voted for Joe Biden, what do you think of that? Is there an opinion? Why didn't he release the Epstein list? Hopefully, now that Donald Trump is coming in, he said he's going to release it. Let's see what happens. But let me continue. Let me read this. Ciavarella and Conahan shut down a county-run juvenile detention center and accepted payments from the builder and co-owner of the two for-profit lockups of children. Ciavarella, who presided over the juvenile court, pushed a zero-tolerance policy that guaranteed large numbers of kids would be sent to PA Child Care and its sister facility, Western PA Child Care. Ciavarella ordered children as young as 8 to detention. Many of them were first-time offenders, deemed delinquent for petty theft, jaywalking, what I told you, truancy, not going to school, smoking on school grounds, and other minor infractions. Do you imagine this? This is a sitting judge, and he just pardoned him. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court threw out some 4,000 juvenile convictions involving more than 2,300 kids after the scheme was uncovered, and several children committed suicide. What do you tell the parents now? If you're Joe Biden, how do you explain this to the parents? How do you say it's okay? No different than what I said with our Gold Star families that lost their lives and you didn't attend their ceremony this past year. How can that be? And now we're talking about children here that took their own lives because of whatever was happening to them in those juvenile centers. You imagine sending a baby 8 years old for jaywalking or smoking cigarettes on a school grounds and he kills himself? Their baby for nothing. This is not serious crimes. How do you mentally or morally as a judge do that? And how as a president do you release these guys? This isn't guys, men against men, crimes against each other. This is children, innocent children. And here's one that's even better than, well, I shouldn't say better in a good way. I mean better in a bad way. Isn't Joe Biden the one who's supposed to be presented as a model of human decency, as to gather the country together? Well, that went out the window, I guess, huh? But Joe Biden just provided a Chinese national with clemency was convicted of having 47,000 child pornography images in his possession. 47,000 child pornography images in his possession. Shan Lin Chin was sentenced to 97 months in prison after pleading guilty. The police stopped going through his computer after confirming 1,338 images, including infant rape. He's looking at computer images of infant rape. And our president pardoned him just now. And their excuse is going to be, well, we had an exchange with American citizens in prison in China. Okay. Find other guys to release from here, not that guy. Why would you release that guy? The guy that, this is all we know of. How do we know what he has done to children? Again, we don't know. We will never know. But if he has all those images in there, I bet you anybody who's a gambling man or woman would definitely gamble on the fact that, obviously, if he's looking at those kind of pictures day and night, he's doing something to the effect of that, whether it's here or his country or any other country. But as a president, where's your moral compass? How are you releasing these kind of guys back into society? I mean, there's guys that are in jail that I talk about all the time. Oscar Lugo, no violence, 20 years in prison, wrongly convicted. They won't overturn his case. No violence and 20 years in prison. Nothing. Not one. Why isn't he being pardoned? Why won't anybody look at that case? And that's out of Pennsylvania also, by the way. That's out of Westchester. The FBI denied to prosecute that case. They didn't believe they had evidence. But yet the state had evidence on Oscar Lugo, put him in jail, gave him a 300 years or 900 years or some crazy figure. Then they brought it down to 158 years. 158 years for nothing. Accused of selling drugs. All the witnesses said they were tampered with. They were put in the same room to get their stories together. Still, no overturn of facts. Corrupt police were involved. And I could go on, but he has no violence, zero. No violence in jail, no violence on the street. And why isn't he released? Why isn't anybody looking into these cases? But you have these guys are being pardoned. Guys with these kind of crimes against children are being released. I brought up other cases. The Duca brothers, no overt acts. Chris Christie, the McDonald's eating, chicken eating, my opinion, again, double crosser against President Trump. Went out for the deep state and campaigned against President Trump because he's part of the deep state. And he convicted these guys so he can elevate himself after 9/11 to governor of New Jersey. That's it. He just picked some guys that have no overt acts of violence. Yes, they're Albanian, for people that ask. It has nothing to do with it. I happen to know the family, yes, but it has nothing to do if they're guilty or innocent. But they're innocent. And I spoke to journalists that were covering that case. I spoke to somebody that spoke to one of the arresting or involved in the case that believes they're innocent. I shouldn't say arresting. I'm not sure where he stood in that case. But somebody spoke to him that believes they're innocent, even though he was involved in their prosecution, I guess, following orders, if maybe he was there to pick them up or whatever. I don't know what his position exactly was. But I spoke to a journalist about it. He believes they're innocent. So why aren't these cases looked at when they're going to pardon somebody? And I just picked two different cases of individuals that have no violence, no overt acts of violence, nothing. So how is it that they're not being considered for a pardon? How is it that this president is sending billions of dollars to Afghanistan, to Iran, that suppresses their people, kill their people, wants death to America, and you're leaving these people in prisons to die? I don't get it. I don't know if anybody else gets it, if anybody wants to get it or understands what's going on and why so many people love President Trump. Because of his actions, because of his ability to see through bullcrap that everybody didn't see through, that he had to expose the world to some of the stuff that's going on. And RFK, and hopefully when he gets in, the Epstein list will be exposed also. And it was a good week this week. Christopher Wray, head of the FBI, resigned before he was going to get fired. He was up on Congress, I don't know how many times, lying. Just recently, Wade was on there with the Fannie Willis boyfriend, girlfriend stuff when they were trying to sabotage a case against the president, trying to block him from running as president. And now he is the president again, duly elected. And he admitted under oath that he was working with the White House, Joe Biden, and the rest of them to go after Donald Trump. You imagine? And just more recently, when we talk about pardons, you have all those J6s, and they have 26 known operatives working for the Democratic Party and the FBI. I shouldn't say the Democratic Party, but my opinion, again, the Democratic Party. FBI, they were plants that were instigating on the ground, which we all knew that already anyway. And we knew they instigated smoke bombs and concussion bombs and fights and trying to trick people to go into the Capitol, and we could go on. They destroyed that evidence. Dick Cheney's daughter, Liz Cheney. When you see them on the same side as the Democratic Party, you know we have a deep state. When they all get together to try to pull down and bring down the greatest president in our history, and probably the history as long as we're going to know it, is Donald Trump, you know something was wrong. But some of these pardons are ridiculous, and hopefully on day one, President Trump pardons these J6 patriots and get some justice for the veteran, Babbitt, that was killed without a weapon for trespassing. Didn't do any violence, didn't do anything. And hopefully we see something happen with that, and that case is reopened, because it's a shame what happened. And again, we don't have to rehash J6, but the speech was, and the people know it. That's why they all voted. I believe this was the biggest victory ever since the 80s, with about 312 or 14 electoral votes. The popular vote was a landslide, and the basement routine didn't work this time. People had enough of what's going on in this country. And thank God for a strong president that we have now. And we'll see how many other people they pardon, meaning Joe Biden. But the ones that I just read out are incredible. When you look at that list and say, how can they pardon these? And his son, you can at least, as a objective person, that you could see that, people would pardon their son. But the rest of them, no. Hit the subscribe button, comment, follow me, John Alite, and tell me what you think. Thank you, everybody. Have a great holiday, great weekend. I'll see you.